Even though I have played video games ever since I learned how to crawl towards our Atari 2600 joystick at home, I have never played a single Zelda game all my life until Breath of the Wild in 2018. There are multiple reasons for that. First, you probably have heard enough about my Eastern European upbringing that is PC-centric. Owning a console was something extremely rare and not budget-friendly, particularly a Nintendo console. I remember looking at magazine screenshots of Wind Waker for GameCube and dreaming about playing that game, but alas, it was not to be at the time. There was a time before that in the late 90s when I emulated a bunch of NES and SNES games, but back then most of the time games I choose to play for those platforms were random, so just happened to not try any of the Zelda titles. I've emulated the Game Boy line a lot, but my biggest priority with that one was Pokemon. Ever since the anime was localized for our TV channels, emulation of Game Boy, Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance became insanely huge in Eastern Europe in general. I guess that's why Nintendo eventually decided to make it easier to own a Nintendo DS in the region, which I did, was my first non-PC system, but also by the time I owned the DS at around 2008-ish, 2009, Zelda games somehow were not in the public consciousness too much anymore, at least in the spaces I participated in, so yeah, the DS Zelda titles also have evaded my attention. Everything has changed after my wife gifted me a Nintendo Switch on our honeymoon in 2018 with Super Mario Odyssey, and at some point during that year I also got Breath of the Wild. I guess all you need to know is that after Breath of the Wild I have caught up with almost every Zelda game in the entire franchise. So I guess you can say I liked it. I had at least two 100-150 hour playthroughs where I have practically 100% of the game, meaning all quests and shrines really. I had some partial new standard playthroughs, I had a partial master mode playthrough which I didn't finish cause I think Breath of the Wild's master mode sucks. I watched my wife play Breath of the Wild 1.5 times in her several hundred hours of playing. This is one of her most favorite games out there. This was also the first ever console game my wife's mom has played for about 50-70 hours, many of which I also watched. So yeah, Breath of the Wild has left an absolutely massive footprint in my life, and at times I wish I could just erase playing it from my memory so I'd be able to play it from scratch again. Here's what makes Breath of the Wild special for me. Even though this is a game of an absolutely massive scope, it is not a sandbox that just throws you in a do-whatever-you-want style. Relatively speaking, it is a very focused game. It is systemic, but it doesn't add unnecessary systems upon systems just for them to be there. No, everything the game has is for the purpose of you creating your own adventure on your path to defeating the big bad Ganon, a goal that the game gives you from the get-go. And yeah, after completing the tutorial you can go anywhere you want and do anything you can, within the limits of the systems and the adventurous fantasy. And that's what works. You have true agency in a big open world, but within what's actually a concise, focused, directed experience everything is designed around. And while regrettably Breath of the Wild doesn't bolster a great narrative or a truly strong cast of characters, the way you carve your own story, your own journey, more than makes up for it. Also, Breath of the Wild has 2 DLCs released through its expansion pass that are integrated into the core experience. I don't think they deserve their own entry, so I'll just quickly discuss them here. The DLCs are fine, I guess, but I believe if it's your first time playing you shouldn't install them. Only if later on you will understand you want even more Breath of the Wild. Particularly because some of the items you find are so good that it can devalue exploration a bit, but not by much because the game's world is still exceptionally wonderful. So yeah, Breath of the Wild is just an astonishing, beautiful, atmospheric experience where you're free to create your own adventure the way you find most compelling. And when it comes to ranking, well, first, if you've missed the reason why a lot of games I've ranked already don't have numbers right now, it is because I decided to simplify how I rank games, as trying to compare the overall quality and my emotional connection and vibes of each proved to be ineffective the more games were added. So I have found a much simpler way, a question. If at one point I'm going to be forced to choose to replay one of the 2 games compared for this list, which title I'd choose with less hesitation. I'm gradually going through games I ranked previously to make sure that their placement fits this new, far more straightforward method, and I guess it is no wonder that for now, Breath of the Wild takes the new #1 spot. On one hand, I understand that talking about Breath of the Wild right now, I'm sort of condemning this first position to potentially not change for a very long time since it's insanely difficult to think of a game that would win in a choice of two, with Breath of the Wild being one of them. What game would I rather play than Breath of the Wild in that scenario? Not even Tears of the Kingdom would win in a direct competition. But also, it's going to be all the more intriguing and exciting to find a game that will eventually get the new #1 position.